Do you want to learn more on how to put money to work in regenerative food and agriculture? Follow our video course via investinginregenerativeagriculture.com/course or in the links below. Now, on to the podcast. In this interview, we explore the role of animals in feeding the world. I interviewed the Dutch poultry farmer Ruud, who argues the importance of asking why constantly. For instance, why are we feeding food which humans could eat directly, mostly grain, cereals and corn, to animals? Enjoy this wide-ranging discussion on animal agriculture, the future of food and veganism. Welcome to another episode of Investing in Regenerative Agriculture, investing as if the planet mattered. A podcast show where I talk to the pioneers in the regenerative food and agriculture space to learn more on how to put our money to work to regenerate soil, people, local communities and ecosystems while making an appropriate and fair return. Why my focus on soil and regeneration? Because so many of the pressing issues we face today have their roots in how we treat our land, grow our food and what we eat. And it's time that we as investors, big and small, and consumers start paying much more attention to the dirt/soil underneath our feet. Before we get started, I've been recording these interviews next to my day job, and I will definitely continue to do so and release about an episode a month. But at the same time, I would love to take this further, share more interviews. There are many more stories to share on investing in regenerative food and agriculture. More depth, improve the quality, maybe even doing some video series. So I started a Patreon community, which makes it easy to support creators like myself. If these podcasts have been of value to you, and if you have the means, I invite you to support me and make this happen. For more information, please find the link to my Patreon account in the description below. And now, without further ado, the interview. Enjoy! Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm Koen van Seijen, your host, and today I have the pleasure to interview Ruud Zanders, co-founder of Kipster, a beyond organic chicken and egg farmer in the Netherlands. Welcome, Ruud.
Yeah, thank you.
To start with a personal question, what brings you to start a beyond organic, as I quoted the Guardian here, which I will definitely put in the show notes below, to start a beyond organic or beyond free range chicken and egg farmer in the Netherlands? What brings you there?
Yeah, I grew up on a poultry farm. So my parents, they were poultry farmers. And when they had a layer farm, it was actually to look how can we make as much eggs as possible, and that for the lowest cost. So large scale. And about 10 years ago, I was thinking is this the way we have to go with animal products? So is there not a way to have a look how can we make more animal protein, but that in an animal-friendly, an environment-friendly and people-friendly way. And that's how we started, and that's the reason why we want to do something different and to make better eggs, or maybe the best egg in the world.
Yeah, I think you're definitely underselling yourself when you're saying something different, because you're doing everything different. Can you describe a bit for someone who's not a poultry farmer, like probably most of the listeners, what is Kipster, in what ways are you different? And then we'll dive a bit deeper into the animal protein discussion after that.
Okay, yeah. But what we did is first to have a look, what's the role of animals in feeding the world? Why should we produce animal protein? Because, for example, we have 1 kilogram of cereals and you can feed 10 people with it. But what we are doing in the Rich West, we are giving that 1 kilogram of cereals to animals, and then you can feed in an inefficient way. You can feed 2 till 4 people with it instead of 10 people. So why are we doing that? Is that ethical to give all these good cereals and corn to animals, knowing that 1 billion people in the world are hungry? So what's the logical reason for that? So we were looking for that logical reason and we couldn't find it. So we went to Wageningen University. What's the reason to produce animal products? And then there was a good theory, we think. It was a theory from Professor Imke de Boer. And what she was saying to us is the role of animals in feeding the world is that we have to produce with all the arable land which we have in the world, we have to produce plant-based products for people. And then we have some marginal land in the world. You can, where nothing else is growing than grass, you can put a cow or a goat in it, and you can make food from that grass with a cow or a goat. And then you have some waste products from plant-based production from the land, and you have some waste products from human consumption. And then a pig and a chicken can do something fantastic because they can eat that and they can make food for people from that. And that's the role of animals in feeding the world. Only eating our waste products, and they can make food for people from products which we can't use anymore. So we said, okay, that's the role of animals in feeding the world. That's the reason why we should use, as human beings, why we should use animals for our human beings. And if you are using these animals, then do that in an animal-friendly and people-friendly and environment-friendly way as good as possible. And that's exactly what we are doing with Kipster. We are only feeding our animals with waste products from human consumption and from the land. And I really believe that we are the only one in the world who are doing that in a commercial way with laying hens. And that's the role of animals. That's what we are doing. And then you have a lot of other things you have to take care of. And that's for animal welfare. So we have 3 stars from the Dutch animal protection. We do that as good as possible, but we are also catching the fine dust out of the air so that we have no risk for the public health. We have also transparency to all the people who want to know what we are doing, because we are always open for visitors. We are also using the waste products from an egg, and the waste products from producing an egg is the manure, the laying hens when they are too old to lay eggs, so you can make meat from it. And the roosters, because the roosters normally they are gassed at day 1, but we say no, we think that's not ethical to do that. So we want to make meat from it. And last but not least, we are making a climate neutral egg. So these are all the things what we are doing.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack, but I think the central theme is there to unpack literally in eggs, obviously, but unpack in your story as well. The central theme is what's the role, and I think you went completely back to the basics. Okay, what's the role? Do we need animals? Yeah. And if we need animals, what's their role in the food system of the future? And I wanted to ask about the meat part, actually, because it's something that many people don't consider very often. First of all, the rooster part, because obviously half the chickens when they're born are not laying hens. And normally they're, like you mentioned, they're gassed immediately. And actually you're growing them a bit older and using them for meat as well. Yeah. And then the second part is that you have a very central theme in your company. You're only, you're first selling and then producing. Can you explain a bit about your relationship with the Lidl supermarket and how that first sales and then production worked? Also on the meat side.
Yeah. What we did, we were rethinking how can you produce an egg. So that's what I told. And that at that moment we thought, okay, with this, we think we have the best layer farm in the world. So we thought, but we cannot build this if we don't have sales for our eggs. So we went to all the supermarkets in the Netherlands. And then the Lidl supermarket, Lidl was from the beginning very enthusiastic about what we were saying. So, and at one moment, after a lot of discussions, they asked us, how can we help you to realize this so that we can really make this happen? And then we said, okay, for us, it would be nice if somebody wants to buy our eggs. And that's exactly, Lidl was saying, and that's exactly...
kind of essential, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So, and Lidl was saying, okay, and that's exactly what we can do. And we said, if we have no sales for our eggs or no guarantees, then it's not possible for us, because then the risks are too high. So we discussed a lot, and at the end of the discussion, we concluded, okay, we can get a contract from the Lidl for 5 years, that they for sure buy all our eggs and all our meat products from us, and that for a good price. So we calculate our cost price, our margin, and our sales price for a good price, that we can really make this happen. And I think that's one of the big innovations in the agriculture sector, or for sure in the egg sector, that we are cooperating with Lidl, and not only about price, so that we only discuss about the price, but we are really cooperating. How can we make the best egg in the world? What does it cost? And can you really buy it from us? So that's what we are doing with Lidl and with our sales.
And it seems like they're happy, because if I read it correctly, you have one farm now and you're opening a second one with Lidl again as a customer.
Yeah, exactly. We started with our farm. We opened our farm in September 2017. We had our first eggs delivered to Lidl in October 2017. And really from the beginning, we were completely sold out with our eggs. So that was very nice for us, but also very nice for Lidl. But there was one big thing, because Lidl don't want to say no to their customers. So, and that was the reason that they say, okay, we see that it sells really good. So we believe there's also a space for a second one. So we are going to build a second one for the Lidl in the Netherlands. And then again, with a contract for 5 years for that farm.
And just in terms of two questions, in terms of scale, just to give people an idea, how many laying hens do you have at the moment at your operating farm?
We have 24,000 birds in one Kipster. And maybe it seems a lot, but actually that's quite a little bit, because in average, a normal barn system in the Netherlands has about 70 to 80,000 birds. And a normal organic farm has about 20,000 birds. So we are almost the same as an organic farm.
And actually, that's a great segue into a question there. What's the main difference between you guys and an organic farmer? Is that the feed? Are there other things as well? And what would you describe if I would be in the Lidl supermarket? I'm looking at the egg options. I see you guys, and I see an organic one, and I see a conventional one.
Yeah, I think there are three things. One of the things is our free range, because for 24,000 birds, an organic and a free range farm need 10 hectares of land to let the birds walk on. And every poultry farmer can tell you that from that 10 hectares, for sure, they don't use 9 till 9.5 hectares. So we said that has nothing to do with sustainability and nothing to do with animal welfare, because they don't use it. And there are some reasons why they don't use it. They are afraid for fox and for predators, and they don't like rain. So we had another solution. Yes, free range is good for all the animals, so also for birds. So we have space to walk outside, but not 10 hectares, so it's much lower. But with that, we cannot be an organic farm. That's the first reason. The second reason is maybe more important, and that's our feed, because we don't want to feed good cereals or good corn, which we can eat as human being. And that's also what organic normally is doing. They are giving the cereals and corn, but it's organic cereal and corn, so maybe that's a little bit better, but we can eat that as a human person, and we don't want to do that. So we are only giving waste products to our birds, and then you can say, okay, but then your waste products has to be organic. Yeah, maybe that's true, but that's at the moment not possible, because they are not separated, organic and normal waste products. So, and that's the second reason. And the third difference between organic and what we are doing is that we are making a climate neutral egg. And that's there are actually no farmers at the moment who are doing that, or this is barn nor organic.
So your main, apart from these 3 points, the main one is, why would you feed something that we can perfectly well eat to an animal if it's not necessary? Because what happens now with the waste streams or the residual streams that you mix into, or with a partner, you mix that into a poultry feed? What would happen if your chickens were not eating that?
Then it would go to, how do you say that, to biomass or to energy.
Biogas,
So
much lower.
That's maybe also good. But if you look to the environment, what can be to do the best with waste products, then you have 10 steps. And the first step is prevention. Everybody knows that. The second step is to give it, for example, to the food bank so that also people can eat it. The third step is conversion to human food. So, for example, a tomato who is not good enough to eat directly, make soup from it. That's the third step. And the fourth step is use an animal feed. So, and then you have six steps who are more worse, and that's, for example, biogas. That's not as good for the environment as to make food from it with an animal.
And especially, I think, when you make protein out of it, which is almost a higher step from the cereal.
Exactly. That's what you are doing with animal products. You are making protein from it for people.
And in terms of price, it always comes down. Not it always comes down. Price is obviously an important thing. When I'm in front of the Lidl supermarket, in front of the shelf, I know you don't control the prices, but what is the price range compared to others? Are you under organic, above, more or less the same?
Yeah, if you look to normal egg price in the supermarket and a barn egg, and a normal barn egg, that's the basic egg in the Netherlands, it's about 15 till 18 cents for consumer. A normal free-range egg is about 22 till 26 cents an egg, and a normal organic egg is 28 till 32 cents an egg, and our egg is 25 cents.
So exactly in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost the same as free range. Yeah.
And it seems like people don't mind and are actually preferring it, because you just said before that you were constantly sold out, or the Lidl was constantly sold out with your eggs.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I really believe a lot of people are always saying, but the consumer has to buy it and they don't want to do it. Yeah, I really believe that consumers want to buy it if they know what you are doing, if they can see what's the difference and what you are doing. Then I really believe that a lot of consumers are concerned about animals and about the world, and they want to do the good thing. So I think it's not a problem, but you have to do the right things and you have to tell the right things.
Yeah, and you see that with the growth of veganism and vegetarianism. I think we're in the Netherlands now on the vegetarian restaurant week. I mean, there's every week something around this theme, and the growth on that is, and you're very specific also on the website on how much animal protein somebody could consume, obviously coming from the research of Imke.
Yeah, it's coming from research from Imke de Boer from Wageningen University. She's a professor there. And what we are working with her theory. So that means if everybody's working like we are doing, just only feeding waste products to pigs and to chickens and only using marginal land for cows, then if everybody in the world would work like that, then there is for everybody in the world 20 grams of animal-based protein available per day for all the persons, for all the people in the world. So, but 20 grams of animal protein, that's what's available. But now in Northwest Europe, we are eating 70 till 75. United States 80 till 85, Africa 3 till 10, and Asia 5 till 15. So we are also eating a lot too much animal-based protein. And that's for us also the reason why we are very enthusiastic about the week without meat, because we really believe that we have to eat less animal-based protein.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because you basically, through this model, you have the max. Like, this is what we can produce without eating the planet. And there's some rebalancing necessary, obviously, from especially the global north to the global south. But, and in general, there's a huge decrease necessary. And another question on the process, what happens to the manure of the chickens?
Yeah, the manure, we are drying that in our Kipster. So we are drying that till 80 till 90%. So that means that we are catching all the water out of it. So if we are transporting the manure, we are really transporting manure and not water. And then we are bringing that back to the land, and we are exporting that to the north of France or to Germany. But we are making sure that going back on the land so that other farmers can use it to produce plant-based food.
So basically, you could say with every egg, there are X square meters of land regenerated, because it's an organic fertilizer, not a chemical one, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
And what is your, you've been in business now since 2017. You're opening a second one. What is your vision? If we would do an interview a year from now, like March 2020, where would you like to be with Kipster?
Yeah, we are opening a second one for the Lidl in the Netherlands, but we have also a contract also for 5 years with a big catering company in the Netherlands. So that's the third Kipster in the Netherlands. And we have also a contract with the Lidl in Belgium that we are going to open a Kipster in Belgium for Lidl. So that makes 4 of it. And we are also talking a lot and have some letter of intent in other countries like the United States, like France, like Germany. So we are talking a lot in other countries, and I really believe that we can make from this sustainability project what we are doing, can really make business from it. So over 1 year, then of course we have to look to the permits and we have to build. So over 1 year we have, I think, 3 Kipsters. But if you are talking over 5 years, then I really believe that we have an international brand for eggs called Kipster, and we are working in maybe 5 or maybe more different countries with this concept.
And are you considering other animals like pigs, as they have a similar role, but obviously don't produce eggs?
Yeah, that's also what we are doing. We are also looking to other animals, but because in this vision, not only chickens fit in this vision, but also cows or pigs. So we are also looking to that. But we are doubting a little bit because we have a lot to do, and maybe it's better to first to look to what we are doing now to chickens and eggs. But we also want to help other farmers or other people who are maybe can do this the same with pigs or with cows, because we really believe this is the vision and this is how we have to work in the Netherlands and the rest of the world.
And what do you think of you see a lot of insect companies coming up, and a lot of them are saying certain things on chickens, and we're feeding insects to chickens, etc. Is that something you've been trying with, playing with? Is something you've been thinking about in terms of the feed?
Yeah, we are thinking about and we are doubting about it, because what I see what we are doing is building a complete new business with animals, insects, to help another business with animals, chickens, and make it bigger. So I don't know if that's the right way to do. Maybe it's better if we are going to do something with insects in the world than to eat these insects immediately as person. Why with another animal? That's exactly the same as things on the land. Why give it to an animal and not to people directly? It's exactly the same with insects. Why give it to other animals and not directly to people?
Because you're seeing that your chickens don't need any animal protein, in this case insects, to be well.
At the moment, we are working without animal protein for our birds, so and it's going well. But that could be a reason that we are saying in the future, yeah, okay, maybe we have to feed some insects, because I really believe that it's also good for the welfare from the birds, because of course in nature they are also eating insects. But then it would be a little a few part of the feed, so maybe 1 or 2%, because it's good for the animal health. But yeah, what I say, not for the role from animals and feeding the world, because then I really believe that we can better eat the insects directly.
Yeah. And what do you think? There is a lot of talk, but especially at larger farms. I haven't seen it in the Netherlands, honestly, or in Europe, actually not so much, on these chicken caravans that are moving behind the cows. On a lot of regenerative farms, many small ones. I'm guessing your answer is going to be scale. What do you think of these chicken caravans that are following the cows usually on a holistic management farm?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic system, but that's exactly what you are saying. For the moment, it's very small business, so it's very expensive eggs. And not available for supermarkets, because it's the number of eggs is very low. So what we think you have to do is to make the eggs as good as possible with animal, environment and people friendly as possible, but also available for the average consumer. So it must not be a very high price for the eggs, because then it's only for the happy few. And we want to make products for the average consumer. But these initiatives with such things, I'm really happy with it, because I think, for now, I think it's not the right way to do for this moment, but maybe if they engineer and they do some innovative things, maybe over 10 years, it's completely different.
Yeah, I think there's a big question there, not only on scale, but also on what do the chickens eat, because they obviously, I've seen the numbers, and they eat a lot of things on the land where they are moved on. But they don't only eat that. They usually eat some other types of grain, etc. And then we enter in exactly the same discussion. What do they eat beyond just the insects and some of the maybe grasses they eat? And they usually eat up to 50% of other things, which shouldn't be something that we could eat as well.
Yeah, or maybe you can give them then also waste products.
Yeah, for example, I mean, of course, if you can buy a good mix that you're using, and you can, then it becomes a very interesting, because then then you don't have to drive the manure out anymore, because it's actually already done. But yeah, the prices and scale is I don't see it changing very quickly to something that a supermarket could buy? Because just to give an idea, how many eggs a day do you do, or do your laying hens make, basically, or lay?
In average, 22,500, so 7.5 million a year.
Which is not a small feat, yeah.
No, it's not. It's not a small number. No, exactly.
No, I mean you explained how you fit into the larger system, and that you're relatively small compared to some other operations, but still, for most people thinking about chickens and poultry, they would probably not think about these numbers.
No, exactly.
And some final questions on the financing or the business side of things. How has that been so far? How has it been financed? If you're willing to share, obviously, has it been difficult to get to investors that understand these kind of things? How has it been, that journey from idea? I mean, obviously you found a little, but I don't think they invested. I think they just guaranteed some offtake. Yeah. How did you manage to build it?
Exactly, the little guaranteed, but with that guarantee you can go to investors, because that's comfortable for us and for them. But now for the first Kipster, we had a private investor who really believed in what we were saying and what we were doing. And actually that was not very difficult, to be honest, because when we had the contract from the Lidl, in 2 months we had our finance. So that was very fast, I think. And now for the rest, now we have proof that it's possible. We show that it's possible. Our financials are, we are very happy with it. And now also it's possible to finance it by bank. So that's what we are now doing for the next Kipsters. We are financing it actually in a normal way.
Wow, which I think in less than 2 years, which is a huge achievement.
Yeah, exactly. For this moment, we are very satisfied with our results and all our attention for Kipster. Yeah. Because if you told me this 2 years ago, then I would have said to you are crazy, because I don't believe you.
And to finalize or to draw this podcast to a conclusion, because I want to be conscious of your time, 2 final questions. I always say final question, and I have 2 others. Imagine there's a room full of smart impact investors listening to this podcast, and they really want to put their money to work in the future, the food system of the future. And of course, we're not giving investment advice, but what would be some of your pointers? Where should they learn more? Where should they look at in terms of sectors, in terms of parts of the food and agriculture sector, where their investment, euros and dollars and yens, etc., can have the most impact? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think then it's really important not to look only to the economic efficiency, but also to the ecological efficiency. So why are we doing things? What's the role of animals? What's the role of the land? Why on this land producing cereals, and why on that land grass and a cow or goats? So I think we have to look from what's the best to do for the world, and have a look to that. And if we have that, then we can produce our food. So, and that's completely different if I compare with what we have done the last 50 years. So I think we have to look to a new structure. And then for the most important thing is to ask ourselves the question, why are we doing these things? And why are we doing this with this animal? And why are we doing this on this place?
These are very, very, very fundamental questions. I remember... Yeah. I think it's Ricardo Semler that kept saying you have to ask why 3 times, which usually gets you to the core of an issue, of a problem. Because after the second one, you start to get to a really interesting place. And to finalize this one, what if you could change one thing overnight? So you have a magic wand, and you could change one thing in the food and agriculture system, or even in the investment system if you want to. What would you, Ruud, as co-founder of Kipster, what would you change?
Then I would immediately stop with using all these animals just for human beings. I think that is a little bit crazy what we are doing with all these animals. So I'm dreaming of a world in which we don't use animals anymore for our food. And I know that for now it's not possible. And that's also the reason why we are going on with Kipster, because we think if we are using animals, do it as animal friendly and people friendly and environment friendly as possible. But I hope that over 20 or 30 years we don't use animals anymore for our food.
Thank you so much, Ruud. And I will definitely be checking in to see where you're at in a year or in 2 or in 5 years.
Yeah, that would be nice. Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation and learned much more about the role of animals in the food system of the future. If you found the Investing in Regenerative Agriculture and Food podcast valuable, there are a few simple ways you can use to support it. Number 1, rate and review the podcast on your podcast app. That's the best way for other listeners to find the podcast, and it only takes a few seconds. Number 2, share this podcast on social media or email it to your friends and colleagues. Number 3, if this podcast has been of value to you and if you have the means, please join my Patreon community to help grow this platform and allow me to take it further. You can find all the details on patreon.com/regenerativeagriculture or in the description below. Thank you so much and see you at the next podcast. Dear friends of the podcast, I'm super excited to share with you the online video course Investing in Regenerative Agriculture and Food. How to put money to work in regenerating soils at scale and growing a lot of tasty food while doing it. Why are we doing this course? After 100 interviews and more than 100 hours of audio asking the question how to put money to work in regenerating soils, and have been following the space since 2011 and recording these podcasts since 2016, we thought it was time to share our lessons learned. What have we seen in the space over the last years? How have we built our decision-making framework? What to focus on with the podcast? How have we picked interviewees? And what questions should you ask? What is happening in the space? What should you read? What should you listen? What should you watch? How to approach this space? For whom is this course? You, the soil builders and investors in this space. The soil builders, people working in this space, entrepreneurial farmers, fund managers, vehicle builders, crowd investing, platform builders, ag tech companies, farm-to-gut food companies, permaculture, keyline designers, holistic management consultants, etc., etc. People that are building soil at scale. And the investors who are putting their own money to work through their family office or as private individuals, or people who are putting other people's money to work through foundations, institutional capital, banks, insurance companies, etc. Is this course free? No. This is pay what you think it's worth. Meaning, I have no way of knowing what this course will be worth to you. And I'm very aware that among the listeners of this podcast, we have people with very different means. So I'm inviting you, if this course is creating value to you, and if you have the means, to consider paying what you think it's worth. Thank you. So what is this course? It's currently a series of 17 videos, mostly ranging from 10 to 15 minutes, plus PDF slides, so you don't have to ride along. We're gonna look into why invest in regenerative agriculture and why extractive agriculture is so risky, how to invest, what kind of frameworks you could and I think should build, what to invest in, what kind of co-investors you could find, or what kind of investors you could find if you're a soil builder. Every lesson will have a digging deeper part where I will share what kind of reports, what kind of interviews, what kind of videos you can look into if you want to dig deeper. We're going to look at nutrient density, landscape design, and a lot more. So what is it not? It's not a list of investable deals. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist in this world. We're really at the beginning of the regenerative agriculture and food revolution. It's also not investment advice. Before making any investment, please find professional investment advice. So get ready, get a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or whatever you're drinking, click on the link below, sign up, and I'm really looking forward to your feedback.